Welcome to the Unlock Your Inner Beauty workshop. Before we begin, you may be asking, what is inner beauty? Well, I believe that inner beauty lives deep in our core. It's the part of us that is pure, vibrant, timeless, and ageless. It is unaffected by our past, by society, and who other people think we should be. So think back to a time in your life, even if just for a moment, when you felt completely alive, free, and proud to be you living in your skin, not wishing to be anyone else or anywhere else in that moment. Maybe it was saying your vows to your beloved on your wedding day, or maybe it was the time you looked into the eyes of your firstborn child. Perhaps it was getting accepted to the college of your dreams, or completing a project that you gave your blood, sweat, and tears to for months on end. It's the moments when you are completely lit up inside, all is right in the world, and you completely love, honor, and embrace all of who you are. It's the way that my 3-year-old lives nearly every moment of his day.
It's a banana!
Whoa!
There you go. Hold on, so you got one more present?
I know these moments can seem fleeting, few and far between. Perhaps you had times in the past when you experienced life this way, but it is such a distant memory and it seems impossible to reclaim this pure love, freedom, joy, and complete acceptance of who you are. Perhaps you're even thinking, I've never had that feeling, and that's okay. What if I told you that you could experience these moments all of the time, and that you're actually closer to having them be part of your regular life than you ever dreamed possible? So in this workshop, I'm going to be revealing the keys to unlocking your inner beauty as a regular and ongoing part of your life. So this workshop is for you if you realize that your weight and health issues are connected to something deeper than just the food. You are tired of feeling like you have an invisible weight holding you back in life, and you know that you have more potential than what you may be expressing. And what you really deeply want is to become a woman who feels comfortable in her own skin, loves what she sees when she looks into the mirror, is able to speak her truth and inner knowings without fear, knows her place and purpose in the world, and follows her heart in the direction that brings her to life. This 4-part workshop will reveal some of the key pieces that you may have been missing on your journey. So let's step back a moment so I can tell you a bit about me. My name is Camille Macris, and I have been helping women become the fullest version of themselves for the last 6 years, and wading through it for myself for another 14. Though I'm more widely known for the paleo cooking TV show, Camille's Paleo Kitchen, it's what you'll be learning through this series that has made the biggest difference for me in becoming a woman who can look in the mirror and truly be pleased with a reflection looking back at me. If an outsider were to look at my life, they'd probably think that I just got lucky, that I was born with a silver spoon. This really could not be further from the truth, and in a little while I'm going to share more of my story with you. In the meantime, know that you are in good hands. I have helped hundreds of women around the world tap into their inner riches to become happier, freer, and more alive, and as a result have created amazing relationships, careers, families, and restored the health and vitality of their physical bodies too. This is the first in a series of 4 training videos in this workshop, where I'll be teaching you how to become the most radiant version of the woman that you know somewhere deep in your heart you can become. So, how do you get over the baggage, the dead weight that is holding you back, and finally begin radiating a deep sense of confidence, peace, and beauty? The goal of this workshop is to show you the critical things that you need to know to bring all of the pieces together, to have all of the self-help books, the courses, the therapy finally click together so you can stop waiting for something to change in the future and begin experiencing yourself and your life differently right now. Or if you've never done any of that stuff and you're just getting started on the path of doing the inner work, this workshop will reveal the things that I've come upon that have made the biggest difference and will light your path forward. So I didn't always see the truth of myself or my own beauty. In fact, it was really quite the opposite. My childhood was very sad and challenging. My mom was very young when she had me, and she was still dealing with the fallout of her own childhood, which included being raised by a bipolar mom and a very abusive father. She became pregnant by a man who was not at all interested in being my dad, and who I would never end up meeting. She was even homeless for several months while pregnant with me before meeting my stepdad, Bruce. So I'll preface this whole story by saying that I know that my whole childhood wasn't bad. I mean, I did live on Maui until I was 7 after all. But my memories were of constant fighting between my parents, fear of not having enough to eat, or wondering if we'd be able to afford our rent. Bruce was an alcoholic and tended to project his disdain for my mom onto me, often saying things like, "You're just like your mother," in a way that was definitely not complimentary. I was also one of the few white kids living in a small town in northern New Mexico. I was teased incessantly for just being me. I was even threatened sometimes. So by junior high and high school, I did find my own circle of friends, but I always felt like an outsider. I was terrified that everyone would learn that I was poor white trash, like some of the girls had named me. I started dating and having sex way too young, partly because I was desperate to escape my home life, and partly because I didn't know any other way to get the love I was craving, and partly because nobody really told me not to, and I'd seen my mom use sex to get what she wanted my whole life. I was also a very good student, and I was encouraged by my boyfriend's mom at the time to apply to some of the best schools in the country. I ended up receiving a nearly full scholarship to Brandeis University in Boston, which was a huge opportunity for me to forge my own path, separate from my family, my lineage, and my hometown. College ended up being a pretty rocky experience, though. On the one hand, I was exploring lots of new friendships and freedom, but on the other, I was on a perpetual cycle of gaining weight and losing weight, and I probably fluctuated 50 pounds during my 4 years. Sometimes I would get into these obsessive rhythms of exercising and eating restriction, and then others I'd go deep into emotional eating, especially late at night when I was cramming for exams or just feeling sad about being rejected yet again by a potential love interest. In addition to being in school full-time, I also worked a full-time job, so I'd wake up very early for class and I'd do the school thing all day, and then I'd go to work waiting tables at a restaurant across town. Many nights I'd even hang out and drink with friends from work. It was really pretty exhausting to be me, if I'm being honest. So by 19, my patterns of overwork, anxiety, and stress were paving the way for the chronic fatigue and adrenal burnout that would set in years later. I graduated from college tired and hoping for the brilliant restart that I was promised at my college graduation. I soon learned that the big world filled with infinite potential was actually a really dark and lonely place, and I felt more lost and confused than ever before. I was skinny and as physically beautiful as ever, but inside I was deeply depressed, drinking and partying to numb the pain and looking for a man to validate my beauty and worth. I felt really so alone, and while I wasn't suicidal, I was pretty sure that if I just withered away, nobody but my mom would really notice or care. One of the hardest parts of it all was that even in the depths of my depression, I could sense that there was this amazing woman in me. I just had no idea how to get to her, and I think that actually made it worse. I would dream of having a family to love and to care for, of doing work that really helped people, and having amazing friends and be able to do lots of fun things and have adventures. So over the next 10 years, I ever so slowly began to make changes. I devoured personal development books and self-help, and I would see incremental improvements, but it was really nothing life-shattering. I ended up traveling around the world solo for 7 months. I joined a Christian church community for 5 years. I also started a private chef business, a wedding cake business, and a software company called RecipeRx, all in my early 20s. It was really awesome, but that business I could not make work, and it ultimately left me bankrupt. I entered into another deep depression after losing my business and tanking my credit. I felt like the world's most massive failure, and I really lacked the emotional intelligence, mentorship, or community to help me cope. So out of sheer desperation, I attended a 3-day intensive transformational course that was so deeply profound and life-changing that I immediately decided to pack my bags, move to San Diego, and keep doing this inner work. I saw for the first time there wasn't anything fundamentally flawed about me. It was just all of these stories and limiting beliefs and childhood wounding holding me back from releasing the most beautiful parts of myself into the world. So the next 2 years was really just a whirlwind of transformation. I learned and I grew so much. It wasn't always easy, but finally, for the first time in my life, I felt like I was really on the right path. My journey began to take a new shape when I did my first women's only retreat. It was there that I first experienced the raw power, wisdom, and connection available to me when being supported by women who really had my back. There was no jealousy, no competition, just sisterhood, support, and love. I had no idea I was missing this type of connection until it was right before me, and now that I found it, I never wanted to let it go. So the time after that first retreat was so emotionally and spiritually rich for me. I was single, young, feeling beautiful, and connecting with other women who were on the same path as me. I had found my tribe. So one night, this is weird, but it's true, I woke to a voice that sounded like the voice of God, and it said, "Women need to know and experience their inner beauty." I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I had been sharing myself in my personal journey of transformation on my podcast, and the women who were following me were really beginning to resonate with my stories. So the next morning, I woke up and I made a list of all of the coaches, friends, and mentors who had supported me during this last 6 magical months of my transformation, and I invited them to co-facilitate a program called the School of Inner Beauty. And together we would guide other women through the process that had helped to heal me. So the School of Inner Beauty, or SIB for short, was a completely magical experience for me, the students, and the teachers alike. We all learned and grew so much together, and we even had fun while we did it. Even when we were digging into the deep stuff, having each other there for support, it really made all the difference. So when I got SIB going, it was really about the teachers, the lessons, and how those would help the women in the way that they had helped me. Those things, they were really important, don't get me wrong, but it was the journey the women were taking together in the community that made it all gel together. So right around the end of the second term of SIB, I re-met Craig. Craig and I had originally met 2.5 years before, but the stars were not yet aligned for us until they were. So all of the work that I'd done on myself was really what prepared me to come into a real relationship. And without that, I am telling you, we never would have lasted. Within 5 months of hosting my first live School of Inner Beauty event, I became pregnant. And just like that, in the blink of an eye, all of my childhood dreams had come true. I now live on Maui with my beautiful family. I am friends with the most amazing people, and I do a work that is a full expression of who I am, while simultaneously helping other women to become the most beautiful, radiant versions of themselves and create lives that really make them sing. And really, none of it would have been possible without the tribe of sisters, coaches, and friends who came alongside of me to light my path when it was dark, be my strength when I was weak, and lead by example of what it means to be a confident, radiant, and alive woman. So when I think back about my personal journey and witnessing the beauty unfold in the women I work with, I've come to find that there are multiple parts to consider. The order and timeline in which the journey unfolds varies from woman to woman, but I have found that the women who have tapped into their inner beauty have unlocked secrets in these 4 areas. Body. They intuitively know how to feed their bodies from day to day, and they rely less on rigid rules. They can enjoy sinful foods in moderation without going overboard or using food as an emotional crutch. They have found ways that they enjoy moving their bodies instead of doing boring exercise routines that they hate. They love their bodies, even the perceived imperfections, because they recognize that their body is a beautiful gift, not something to be constantly judged and criticized. Mind. They use their minds to support their vision and purpose in the world. It's not that they don't have any negative thoughts, it's just that they recognize that they aren't those thoughts and they're rarely derailed by them. Emotions. Women who are connected to their inner beauty can express a wide range of emotions in a healthy way without judging their darker emotions as bad or thinking that they always need to be happy to be okay. Since these emotions aren't trapped inside or suppressed anymore, there isn't a need to sabotage themselves with addictive behaviors with food or compulsive shopping or just being stuck in a loop of depression, anxiety, and overwhelm. Spirit. They have connected to something greater than themselves, whether that be called God, the universe, or simply an understanding that they are in control and also not in complete control of their lives. Or perhaps they're simply tapped into their own soul and they're able to allow it to navigate their lives and are not simply held hostage to their egos. So today, I'd like to give you a simple yet powerful lesson connecting how you think and how you feel about yourself as a key to unlocking your inner beauty. This is one of the most important lessons that I've learned, and I keep coming back to it when I feel depressed, sluggish, unmotivated, or just a little bit off. So I'm going to caution you from the outset to resist thoughts like, I've heard this before, or this would never work for me. Neither thought will serve you as you are hearing this teaching. So I invite you to pause, take a deep breath, and receive the truth of this message for you. You are not too broken for it to work for you, and if you've heard it before, doing these exercises with a beginner's mind will allow you to receive fresh truth and insight. This piece hit me like a freight train when I was in a several-month transformational seminar when I was living in San Diego about 6 years ago. I came to realize one day that my inner voice spoke to me in a way that I would never dare dream of speaking to my friends and family. It wasn't like I was swearing at myself, it was more subtle, which is probably why it took me so long to even recognize it. Once I became aware of it though, it was like that voice was on loudspeaker. Why didn't you put more hours into your business today? Do you actually want to be successful? Ugh, your belly is falling out of your pants. Why didn't you exercise today? Your body is so soft, no man is ever going to want you unless you firm it up. Sheesh, took you long enough to pull yourself out of bed today. And on it went. A perfectionist taskmaster whipping me into shape day after day after day. So the first step in releasing your inner beauty is simple. It isn't necessarily easy, but it is simple nonetheless. Begin to notice where you speak to yourself in a way that you would never dream speaking to others. Begin to offer the kindness and compassion to yourself that you so easily offer to a friend in need. Become your own friend in need, because she is. For the next 24 hours, I invite you to put the voices in your head onto loudspeaker. The way that you do this is to simply notice the internal dialogue and listen to what it is saying to you and in what tone of voice. So you might be thinking right now, I don't have a voice in my head. That is the voice that I'm talking about. Your constant companion, the one who weighs and measures everything you say and do against some ideal version of who you think you should be but could never measure up to. The one who exhausts you with never-ending chatter of coulda, shoulda, woulda. This may be really uncomfortable. I know that it was for me. And chances are, once you really start to bring this voice from the background up into the foreground, you're going to feel really sad at hearing how unkind you've been to yourself. So the next part is key, and it's going to help you with this. So as soon as you notice the thought, stop. Take a deep breath. and say, I love and accept you as you are. Take this a step further and say it in front of the mirror. I have my coaching students take 5 minutes at the beginning of their day and another 5 right before bed to look into the mirror and say only nice and complimentary things to themselves. Because the truth is that if you wouldn't talk to a child this way, you have no business talking to yourself in this way either. There's really no need to fight with this voice, no need to battle. Just say, I love and accept me as I am. I now release needing to be perfect, and I accept that I am perfect just as I am. This is a great line for the perfectionist overachievers like me. So now you might be thinking that this is impossible, that you have been this way for so long that there is no way that you can change, or that even if you say it, you're not going to feel it or believe it, so what's the point? I want you to do it anyways, and I promise that over time it will become second nature to love and accept yourself. You are not stuck with the voices forever, and it doesn't need to rule your life. I am not saying that I don't have any negative self-talk anymore. It is human to have some, but you can get to the point where you recognize it quickly, give yourself some love, and move on. Just as with anything, it does take practice, and this is something that's really worth practicing. Something that often comes up for women I coach, beyond it feeling really uncomfortable at first, because this exercise is uncomfortable for everyone, trust me, is a deep feeling that they are not worthy of love because of something that they have done wrong in the past. I am here to tell you that no matter what you have done in your life, no matter who you may have hurt, no matter what bad things you may have done, you are still worthy of love, and it is time to forgive yourself. Forgiveness is one of the most potent medicines on earth. I've often heard it said that unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting somebody else to die. I realized for myself that even after I had forgiven my mom, my dad, all of my ex-boyfriends, that the one I most needed to forgive was myself. It wasn't even for anything bad that I'd done to other people. I mean, I am an extreme rule follower and do-gooder after all. I had to forgive myself for not being perfect. I had been holding myself to completely unrealistic standards for how pretty I thought I was supposed to be, how much money I was supposed to have, how many people's lives I changed, how many hours I worked in a day. It took me a long time to see the truth of how these standards were drowning me. I finally realized that I thought that I had to be perfect to be loved. That's horrible. But I forgave myself. I did. I forgave myself. And my habits didn't change overnight. To be honest, there's a part of me that still goes there sometimes when I'm not, when I'm not centered or grounded. And trust me, it is not fantastic. But that's only 10% of me, not 100% anymore, thank God. It was so exhausting to live that way, and I can tell you from the other side, it is completely unnecessary. So I'm not sure, can you relate to any of this? If you can, I would love to have you share in the comment section below. So anyway, I forgave myself, and I consciously chose to learn the art of loving myself by doing the practices that I just taught you. Self-love and forgiveness is a powerful combination. And I promise that if you practice this for a month, even for a week, your life is going to change. In the next video, we're going to cover another very important key to unlocking your inner beauty, which is building your community of support. It is so easy to think that we're on this journey alone, that nobody else struggles with the inner critic or learning to love themselves. But the truth is that while your challenges are real, they are not unique to you. The problem is that we tend to isolate ourselves when we are struggling or have things about ourselves that we don't like or that we feel are shameful. Connecting with other women who are on the same path is so important for our own health, and I'm going to show you how to do that. We're also going to talk about why connecting with other women can be so challenging. I'm going to give you a hint. It isn't your fault that it may have been so hard in the past, and we will begin talking about ways to make it easier. Creating my tribe of sisters is one of the most important things that I've done, and it's when my own personal sense of peace, happiness, and emotional fulfillment really began to soar. I cannot wait to share it with you and also introduce you to my own mentor and very dear friend and sister, Laura Swan. But right now, I want to know a little more about you. How would learning to have more love and compassion for yourself change you and your relationships for the better? If you've had your own breakthroughs in learning to love and forgive yourself, I would also love for you to share that to inspire another woman just getting started on her path. So please scroll down below this video and tell me in the comments section. And of course, if you liked this video and found it useful, I would really love if you clicked the like button and if you shared it with your friends. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.